Hey guys, and welcome back. You're watching another edition of the Camera 64 podcast. And as always, we are coming to you from sunny San Antonio, Texas, home of the Spurs, guys. Love my Spurs. Well, in case you missed it, Cowboys lost. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, I'm not a huge Cowboy fan. I wouldn't even call myself a fan. I'm more of a fan of good football. And I thought the Cowboys were playing some good football, but apparently not. So they are out. But enough about that, guys. Today, I am coming to you today because I want to show you a quick edit that I'm going to do here for a client that wants this particular picture that she picked out to be made into a framed picture. We haven't talked about the size yet, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be probably an 11 by 14 or a 16 by 20. And so I'm going to make my corrections and edits assuming that. And we're going to move forward from there. So this is a fairly new program to me. I'm still kind of working my way around Luminar Luminar AI, and I'm still kind of learning it and getting a feel for it. So I've been opening it up and dropping a picture or two in there. So I'm still kind of getting a feel for it, guys. If you see that I do something incorrectly, if you are a Luminar AI user, then you feel free to correct me, guys. Absolutely feel free to correct me. But here we go. This is Miss Nicole. This is Nicole. And she is getting ready to get married to this handsome young fella here. And this is one of the pictures that she really liked. Now, for me, this picture's got a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to kind of work our way through it. This is a very high dynamic range picture. It's got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of highlights up here at the top and right here in the center. But we also have some very dark areas right in here. And so I wanted to make sure that when I was taking this, I wanted to make sure that I didn't lose any of this darkness right in here. And so I kind of had to make a decision. Did I want to keep this highlight area or let it fall out and lose some of this shadow area? And so I had to make a decision right there on the spot. And as you can tell, I tried to get right in the center of this picture, but I still ended up losing detail here. But I have managed to maintain all my detail here in my shadow areas. So one of the first things I want to do is start off by working on these really bright highlight areas in the picture. And so to do that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and open up my brush tool, which is over here on the right hand side, and this is your local masks. So you're going to click on that, and then we're going to add our basic panel here. Okay, and then we're going to look at our brush, which is we'll go ahead and start with that right there. But I'm going to work on my highlights. I'm going to bring this highlights down. Now, it's okay to take a guess right here because basically we're just going to kind of get a feel for it. And then we can go ahead and start working in those areas that we want to kind of work on or bring those highlights down. So as I'm doing this, basically what I'm trying to do is just to kind of get this a little bit more uniform, to where the highlight areas are just not really blown out too bad, and the dark areas are not too far gone in the shadow area. So that basically what I'm trying to do to get things started here is just balance out the picture. That's it. So that's about it right now. Those are the really only areas of concern that I really wanted to kind of address. And that's it. So now we can go back. Now that I've already painted in the areas that I was working on, now I can go back and kind of massage this a little bit here and bring those shadows back a little bit. It's kind of like that. And you'll notice right away that when I did that, you kind of get a little bit more blue in the sky. So to counteract that, I want to warm that area up a little bit, just like so. So here's before, and here's after. So now all I did was just kind of bring those highlights down for that area right there. So now the picture is a little bit better to work with at this point. So I'm going to go back to my main brush here, and since this is an AI program, basically, you know, I try and let the program do what it does best, or give it the opportunity to do what it's designed to do. So I like to always click on this and always pull this over a little bit and slowly just slide this over and see what's happening to the picture. And then I like to bring it all the way up to the top and see what it looks like. And then I like to play with turning this on and off to see what the difference is. So you can see it kind of really made those greens pop, which I'm not a big fan of for this picture, because I want them to really shine out. And you can see how this really brings out this green. It's just way too much green for my taste. So I'm going to go ahead and back this out a little bit. And let's try 25. See what that looks like. And that's a little bit more subtle. I like that. Okay, there's still like a lot of green in this picture, and it's just, I think it's really taken away from the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and address that next. So there's no particular order when you're working on pictures. What I like to do is I always like to address the biggest issue with the picture. For me, it was those highlights. So that's where I started at. Now, as I'm looking at this with the highlights a little bit, they're not completely under control because they are blown out right there. But the next glaring issue for me is the green. It's just overtaking the picture way too much. I think it's just too much green there. So we're going to go ahead and work our way down here to color. And then we're going to go here to the HSL panel, so that way we can work on a very specific color. And I'm just going to go ahead and work with the most obvious, which is the green here. And I'm going to desaturate that just a little bit. Yeah, and that looks way better. Can you see the difference? Look at the... nice. And also I'm going to go ahead and warm up this picture just a little bit by bringing in some more orange here. I like the way that looks. That's looking much better. Yeah, see how it's got a much more pleasing feel to it? The green is just not overwhelming. And I think the fact that they have on white outfits, white tops, I think that might be part of the reason why there's just way too much contrast between that those white shirts and that super, seemed like a neon green. It was just way too much for me. So I went ahead and backed that up a little bit. So that's before, and that is after. I really like the way this is coming together here. And because I got this blue up here too, it's kind of mismatched with that green. And there's not too much other blue down here. I'm going to go ahead and bring back. And it's actually not even blue. It's kind of like a cyan color. So we're going to pull on this cyan and desaturate that a little bit. And that worked out pretty good. I like that. And we'll do a little bit of blue too. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better. Let's see that again now. See this right here? This is the area that I'm talking about. It's got kind of like those edges are kind of weird. Got a weird color to them. And you can see that that's a little bit more smoothed out right there. So I do like that. So I think we're done there with the color. And this is looking pretty good now. So now the next thing that really pops out at me is we've got a little bit of glare from the flash. Now, since I was working by myself that day, I didn't have, I wasn't using a modifier, which normally I would if I had somebody helping me out, whether it's my son or somebody that's interested in trying to learn photography. I would take them along and we would set up either an umbrella or a softbox. I'm more prone to use a softbox than I am an umbrella, but that's for another video, right? But for this particular shoot, I was shooting not bare bow, but I did have a reflector on there, but it was just a basic reflector, no kind of softening of the light or anything like that. It's basically a direct light at them. So we got this little bit of a shininess on their face. She's got some on her forehead as well as her cheek here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and come down into the portraits area here. And we have face AI. This is face slimming and face lighting. That's not what we're looking for. So I'm going to come here to skin. Here we go. Shine, remove one. It looks like, yeah, it looks like I had already applied some before, I guess. And I am going to go ahead and do this skin defect removal and see what it does. And that worked perfectly. See, he had a little, I don't know if it's a scar or a birthmark up here. And by simply adding skin defects removal, it removed that from his forehead. And it did leave Nicole's birthmark, beautiful birthmark that she has there. So that worked out really good right there. I like the way that looks. So here's where we're at. Oh yeah, that looks way much better. Gosh, that looks really good. So now I do want to bring back a little bit of this shadow area, because the way that I saw it, this area right here and some of this area in here was really in fact in some deep shadow. So let's go ahead and go back to the light here, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring my shadows down a little bit. So now we got some contrast, but we get to control it. We get to decide how much contrast we want between their shirt and that shadow area of this picture. And I'm really liking the way that looks. And I think I'm gonna back this up just a little bit and maybe make this 40. So now I know when you're making adjustments, you wanna be looking at what it is that you're doing, but when you get to an end point, like for instance, I made the correction first by looking at it, and then I took note of the number or the adjustment level, and it was at 45. So I knew that I wanted to back up a little bit more after I got the picture rendered to me. And so that's why I always take note of the number. So I brought the adjustment back from 45 back to 40, so that that way it's just a slight change. So this looks really good. Now here's the thing for this picture here. Now I like the film look. I like a film look. And in case you're wondering, this was shot on a 1D Mark III. Okay, it's a 10 megapixel camera, guys. 10. So I don't want to hear nobody complaining about, oh, my camera doesn't have a lot of megapixels, or it's not that great or fancy. Well, guess what? This I always talk about it. The 1D X Mark III is the worst focusing camera, and it did a pretty decent job of focusing, considering that they're not in the center point, right? Not bad for a I guess 15 or 16-year-old camera at this point, and only 10 megapixels, mind you. But I do like that film look, and so the way you get to a film look is by pulling back on your histogram. So let me see how I can get to my histogram. Let me see if it's down here. No, I don't have the histogram to make a. Well, I guess it would be matte. See, what I was looking to do is look at the histogram so that I could pull my blacks up a little bit. That's normally how I would do it with other programs, but in this particular program, we have one that says matte. So I'm going to assume that that is going to make my picture look more matty. And I was correct. So you see, guys, even though I'm new, I like the layout of this because you can kind of actually figure it out a little bit if you know a little bit of the basic terms. Like I know that a matty picture is kind of a nice, got a nice fade to it. So that does give me a really nice kind of feel to it. It's got a kind of nice roll off of the blacks as well as the colors. Now the only thing that we're missing now is going to be just a little bit of grain in the picture. So I can go ahead and add that over here. I did see that over here somewhere. Here it is, film grain. So we're gonna add just a little bit. Let's start with something like 20 and see what that looks like. So that's 20. Okay, that's a little bit too much. It's just a little bit too much. Or maybe I can roll back the size of it. Let's see if we can get that grain more organized by maybe lowering the size of it. Yeah, that looks pretty good actually. And I'm gonna also roll back my roughness a little bit. It's set at 30 by default, so let's bring that, let's roll that back. Let's roll it back to 20 and see what that looks like. Gosh, it's still not exactly what I'm looking for, so let's roll this back a little bit more here. So we're at 20, let's bring it back to 10. And 10 is just a random number, guys. I'm not too familiar with this program, like I said from the onset. So I'm really having to just kind of feel it and massage the program a little bit, see what it looks like. And I normally, when I'm looking at pictures, I do not like to look at them in this zoomed in view. So you'll always see me back out and look at the picture as a whole. And it's still a little bit too much grain. So we're gonna roll this 20 back to 10. And I think we're there. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. I really like that. That looks really good. So let's take a look at it again. So there we go. I really like the result that I've got here. This looks fantastic. This is something that I really know that they're going to enjoy. But let's take a look at this before and after. Before, the green is just overwhelming. Can you see it now? If you didn't see it before, I'm sure that you're seeing it now. Look how overwhelming that green is, and look how overwhelming that shadow area is. It just takes away from the picture. So let's go ahead and look at what it looks like after. And I can still kind of bring this down just a little bit if I wanted to, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this. It's not particularly it's not particularly falling into the my style, because I like my pictures to be kind of have an even look and feel to them. It's a little bit on the what most people would consider the bright and airy side, because we have these blown out highlights back here, and that's not what I normally do. And then having a flash directly on them. But I'm happy with this. I'm really happy with this, and I think she'll really like this. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and save this out so that way I can go ahead and print this. And I will print this at an 8x10 and put it in a frame here, and then we'll see what it looks like, because ultimately that's really how I like to look at pictures, is in their complete final view. So we have the gosh, I'm going to say, I'm not sure. Let me see, where did I have, oh, I know what, this is on an external drive. So let's go ahead and look for it, photos of 2021, and look for Nicole. She's somewhere in here, I just saw it. There she is, Nicole engagement. So we'll select that picture. And we're gonna go ahead and mark this with edit. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead and call that Luminar edit, just like that. We do want a JPEG, and we actually want it at the highest, because it's only a 10 megapixel file. We do absolutely want to make sure that we are saving this out in its maximum maximum quality, although this is sharpening. Yeah, we don't want to sharpen it. We actually want low, if nothing at all. And resize is actual size, which is what we want, sRGB. Now here you can put it at however you want. 240 is actually pretty good for most stuff. If you're going to be going to a 16 by 20, which we actually might, so I guess I can go ahead and change this to 300 DPI. And we want to make sure we're at maximum quality. The reason I had lowered it or it was lowered was from the last time I was shooting on my R6, which is a 20 megapixel camera. So that's why I had the quality down. But let's go ahead and export this and take a look at it. All in all, you know, I gotta say that Luminar AR is very easy to understand and use, because when I first started, my gosh, Lightroom has got a learning curve to it, as well as Photoshop, and it can be very difficult to learn and understand it right away anyway. So let's go ahead and look at this. So if you're new, I would highly recommend this program, and the fact that it's under $100 or right at $100, I'm not sure. I'll leave a link below so that you can check it out for yourself, and I think you can even try it out for 30 days before you actually decide to pull the trigger on it. And if you should do so, it would definitely help our channel to grow. Basically, we're trying to get more videos out, and we're trying to figure out what people are interested in seeing us do more of, whether it's shooting, whether it's editing, or more tips and tricks for when you're out there in the field. Gosh, I cannot find it now. Where is it? This is Riley. Here she is, Nicole. And there it is. So let's look at this picture on the large here. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. I like the way that looks. It looks good. Perfect, 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 perfect. We have all the detail in both of their shirts, which is fantastic. The lighting falls off a little bit here at the bottom here, but I'm not going to worry about it because they are walking into a shadow area after all. We didn't lose too much shadow detail, which is fantastic. We did lose a little bit out here, but I think it was kind of a trade-off. I guess you would have had to guess what you wanted. Did you want the highlights, or were you more interested in maintaining your shadows? Shadows are more difficult to recover than highlights. Highlights, I think, are a little bit better, more suited to having them just blow out, I guess, because after all, light and fluffy is a pretty big business for a lot of people. A lot of photographers use that really bright and airy and fluffy feel. So I think it's more passable to have a picture like that. So that's why we went that way. I do like the feel of it being more of a film looking picture, which is fantastic. So I think Nicole's really gonna like this. I'm gonna go ahead and print this out as an 8x10 and frame it, and I'll get that to her. And if she likes it, then maybe I'll offer her to print a larger one for her and let her buy her own frame. But I just want to make sure she likes it. But this does look fantastic. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to share a little bit of time with you here in Luminar AI. It's a software that I have been promoting here on my channel, and hopefully you can give it a try, give it a whirl, try it out. I think that it's something that you can easily figure out if you've been doing any kind of photography at all, and you don't want to have the expense of using Lightroom and Photoshop, because it is pricey. It's $59 a month. You know, you figure that times 12, and it can get pricey to be able to use Photoshop. I use it and pay for it, but even I'm considering leaving just for the fact that there are a lot of options in Luminar AR. I keep saying Luminar AR, but Luminar AI is a great option, and it's really easy to figure out. I think even for novice editors would have a good time. You're going to get good results, as you can tell by this. This is fantastic. So guys, I hope you have been enjoying the Camera 64 podcast. I am your host, Alfonso Chavez, and if you would give us a like, that would be great. If you would subscribe, that would be just amazing. We would love you to death. We somehow managed to get to 80 subscribers, which may not seem like a big deal right now, but it is for me, because I'm fairly new to kind of pushing out content this way. But if you are enjoying it, please just give us a like or give us a dislike. If you thought the video was horrible, then hey, just don't be afraid to tell us, hey, your videos were horrible. But any kind of response at all to this video would be greatly appreciated. Till next time, you take care, keep shooting, have fun, and we'll see you next time.